So welcome to our lecture about internet security, weakness and targets. We now want to speak about online reconnaissance. We are in the chapter of weakness and targets. We discussed the different pieces in an interconnected IT system. We already have discussed human factors and technical failures, and now we have a look on reconnaissance. What is reconnaissance? Typically, before an attacker attacks an IT system, he or she wants to know more about this IT system. He wants to know what operational system is run, what applications are running, how is the situation with the network organization and others. And this preparation phase is called reconnaissance phase. So in this reconnaissance phase, the attacker collects data of the IT system he or she wants to attack. And we discussed already the different operation systems, the different components, the different applications are known to have some mistakes. So if the attacker knows what type of IT system, what type of application is running, he can prepare an attack exactly exploiting this system he find out. So to gather this information and the way how to gather such information about the victim systems, this is done in the reconnaissance phase, and we want to speak about some of the methods to collect such information. So reconnaissance typically is called recon. Such recon can be done in different way. It can be done offline. It can be done by human intelligence to analyze information one gets over the website or over description print out of the company to learn more what kind of applications, computer application they are using, what kind of computers they are using, and others to get a picture of the victim systems and to prepare later attack. So hard copy material, searching in system manuals, garbage containers, also reasons, so the garbage of a company, to learn more about internal IT organization and systems of the company. One can try to analyze wire and wireless tapping, for example, video, audio information of that company. One can learn about telephone and others. One can, this recon also be do online. For us, this is a more interesting case when we discuss here the technical problems around IT security. So an online recon is done, for example, by searching the web information that are available in the web about this company, about the network of that company. One can investigate the website. So a website analysis, one can investigate personal homepages. For example, one can investigate the homepage of the system administrators, and then one learns where they are educated, what is specialties, what departments are working, what kind of systems is the department using. One can try to analyze weblogs. One very good and fruitful source to collect information about a company and about the systems that are run in the companies are profiles in public social sites. One can try to get information about the IT system. It's called IT resource mapping. For example, by port scanning. Port scanning to find out which applications are running. By vulnerability scanning, is there a system used which is not updated, and others. This can be done online over the web. The online reconnaissance can be done also in different modes. It could be done passive or it could be done active. The passive recon is only using third-party resources to perform queries. So not interacting with the system of the victim, which is planned to be attacked. The active recon, in the active recon, then communication with the network, with the various network resources of the target are performed to collect information. Of course, this passive recon, nobody can see in the company, responsible for the target system, because there is no kind of interaction. It's a passive collecting of information. In the active recon, then if anyone, untrusted person, asked for some details, for some information, for some services, then there is a chance to detect that there is attackers behind that. Typically, this passive recon is the first step in gathering information about the target system. This is used to obtain information about the systems that are run, about the hardware, the software, about the network structure of the target, about what kind of applications they are running, what persons are responsible, for example, in the IT department, what persons are responsible for to run the application. So all this information is interesting for the attacker to prepare an attack. For example, by means of a website address, for example, by means of a URL, it is possible to require information about, for example, the web hosting, how the network is organized, what kind of IP addresses are used, what is the structure of IP addresses inside the company. Of course, the network part of the address is the same, but how the host IDs are organized. One can find the names of employees, for example, to run a social attack. One can find out the people that are responsible in the IT department. One can find many more information only by investigating sources like, for example, website address. Of course, there are tools that support people to do this. The tools are, in the beginning, not designed to support the attackers. So the tools are designed to support the system administrators, the network administrators, but in hand of the attackers, they can be misused, for example, to gather in such a recon phase, to gather information about a network. So here, for example, if we look to this utilities like NSLOOKUP or host. So a query default DNS server for targeting a website. For example, to find out what is the DNS server, what is the address of the DNS server in that site, if you apply this NSLOOKUP with our HPI website URL, then you get information about the server and the IP address of the server that is run. So this request is forwarded to the DNS server of the target system, in this case of our own system, and then this target system, this DNS server, answers the request, because systems are designed in a way that they help the administrator to be configured and run in the correct way. So perhaps such a standard request tells the IP address of the DNS server. But the attacker from this can guess other IP addresses of the company which are interesting for attack. So in this way, he can learn something about the organization, the internal organization inside the network of the company. With this tool NSLOOKUP, you can also execute by using some parameters. For example, to get information about what kind of email server is used. And if you know what email server is used, then you can look in databases, what is the weakness, what are the security weaknesses of this email server. So here, for example, mail server, NSLOOKUP minus type, then the answer is sent, the email server explains its configuration. One can, with the command NSLOOKUP and host, one can also get information about addresses and about real host names. The information of the DNS server zone file helps attackers to determine a special target. You know, the DNS server, the domain name server, the server that holds the information how to connect the domain names to the IP addresses to tell about this assignment. This information gives a lot of information about the internal organization of a network, and it is also a goal for the attacker to attack such a DNS server. For example, to interconnect a host name to another IP address, for example, its own IP address, to care that all the information that are sent to the host are forwarded to the attacker. For example, with information about the email server, the attacker can perform an email recon attack. He can perform denial of service attacks, spamming, email relay, or other criminal attacks. So you see, only by observing some characteristics, some parameters, some IP addresses of a network gives a lot of ideas how one can attack this network. There is another utility like whois. With this whois command, it is possible to get general information about special domains like owner, about contacts, about IP addresses, telephone numbers, and so on. For this purpose, the only thing what you have to do is to send a whois query command to a public database that held by this domain registrar. Each domain is registered, and there is exactly written who is responsible for that, how one can call him, what's his telephone number or her telephone number. So in the first moment, such kind of information looks not so secret, looks not so dangerous, but they provide possibilities for the attacker for later misuse, for social hacking, for email address or phone numbers. They can be misused to perform email attacks, social hacking, domain expiration date can be useful for a later domain hijacking. We will discuss this, how does it work. So to find out such information is very valuable for attackers to prepare an attack. So, for example, physical addresses of facilities enable dumpster diving, and address of the DNS server can be requested for further information. So to give you only a glance what kind of information can be collected easily over the internet and are dangerous in hand of attackers. There are more utilities that can be misused for passive recon. For example, utility traceroute. Traceroute can be used to recognize the path of a package from the server to from the sender to its receiver. Every hop, that means every router, the package is passing on the path from the sender to the packet. To the receiver, sends an ICMP message back to the sender, so that the sender, in this case an attacker, can collect information about the path as a package has taken to reach the receiver. What is interesting, so he knows exactly all intermediate systems. He can see and find out all intermediate systems from the sender to the receiver, and typically, in many cases, the last host before the target host. That is in firewall. This is typically of special interest for an attacker. So if he knows exactly the path the package has taken over the internet, and then he takes he considers the router one step before the package has reached the goal, then with great probability this is a router with a firewall. For example, from such an information that is then back from such ICMP information that's sent back to the sender, to the attacker, it's most likely that's a Cisco PIX firewall. So now the attacker knows what kind of security mechanisms are used, and he can look for exploits for known exploits for such Cisco firewalls. So with this method and with this tool that's available for everyone, the attacker may get detailed information about possible target, which may later on help to exploit the system. So there is similar utilities like this path ping that provide similar information, that gives information about the security structure of the victim software. Let's have a look on web recon to use the web search and information that are available over the website for getting information about victims' IT system. So this is very simple and can be performed by everyone to use a web search machine like Google or others to find information about the network of the victim. So typically web search engines help, for example, to find names or email addresses of important employees. A request with special parameters to such search machine eventually even yield confidential data. For example, with Google and with a search request like site company underline name, one can search a company site. So if there are no security measures taken, with such kind of comment over a public web search machine, one can collect information about a network of a company. So if one performs an additional search for password, sometimes the confidential codes are shown which nobody is assumed that such information is public available. The documents can be found over such web search. Often people in the beginning are not aware that such a document entails secret information. So, for example, if a system starts to be developed and freely information is given, after a while a company learns, oh, that's a big business case for us to improve this, and then they take off the document with all the details. But of course, you can find these documents by using a web archive. So, for example, if you can access documents, for example, such a Microsoft Word file, then you can find a lot of hidden information about the author, about the date, about the department. Yeah, look for Word files for these properties, then you see a lot of information that is in, and that gives some hints about information in the company. Mailing lists or newsgroup postings can reveal current problems and can provide possible targets of a company. For example, one can find the email addresses, or one can find names of people in the company, and one can detect for what these people are responsible, and one can try to contact these people to get more information, to find out their IP address and others. Many people use instant messaging applications. They use it also at work. I will more frequently say this bring your own device problem is similar. So people use devices, mobile devices. People use services like this instant message services privately as well as in the company. So, and in this way, it's very dangerous, because if in the private use, if it's not carefully considered, then there could be viruses, there could be other malware installed in some application, and if this is used, this device is used in the company, then although the company is secured, a person coming with such a device and has access to the resources in the company can cause a lot of damage. So here, all this can be misused for collecting information about a company, about a victim network. One can investigate job websites. What is important here? One can investigate, and attacker do this, if a company looks for a new system administrator. And typically, when a company looks for a new system administrator, company asks for persons that are experienced in this and this and that system. So immediately, attacker knows, okay, this company obviously runs this and this and this system, or they are willing to introduce this. So from such job description, you can conclude on some internal secrets of a company. You can search personal websites of company employees. If some people say, I am a specialist here and here and here, and it's most likely that he is a specialist because he runs and works with the system. So this gives a hint that this system or this application or this firewall or this hardware is used in the company. Websites are permanently changing. So sometimes some information in the beginning are given for free, and after a while people detect that this is a confidential data, and they take it off. They take it off of the website. But of course there are website archives where old versions of the website are stored. For example, in this archive.org, one can also investigate the situation of this website in a more earlier stage. So you see, there are many possibilities. I want to mention only a few examples. I cannot finish this web recon by mentioning the social networks. Social networks perhaps are the most important and the most easy source for web recon. Community networks like Facebook's, LinkedIn, StudiVZ, or whatever you want to mention contain personal information. Personal information that's freely accessible. Some people are thinking that's not freely accessible. Try to get information out of Facebook without having an account. You see a lot. You see a lot of information that's inside Facebook, and one can use it. So for example, one can find out names. One can find out nicknames from family members. Why such thing is important. Studies have shown that many people choose as password name of a wife or of the man, the nickname of wife or man, the name of a dog, the name of a favorite star, of a favorite music. So if you know this, then it's easy to try 5, 6 possibilities, and often then you find a password of a person. If you do a real password attack to try out all passwords, it's much more complicated than to analyze this and then try to use this, because studies have shown that people, typically a big amount of people, use such type of password. We will later on discuss about password. You know what's the most frequently used password. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the next, for the more sophisticated people, is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then comes girlfriend, husband, and dog, and music star, and others. So such social networks also give information about personal preferences, also important in the password context, also important, for example, for social hacking, to get to establish a trust relation. So users, this is a big problem. Users of such social networks have no control on the information they published. Because everyone can take this information and can forward this, can make it available to other person. So the profiles of linked contacts within the networks can reveal a lot of information about oneself. This is a problem people do not understand when they are using social networks. Social networks is a nice thing for free, but it's very expensive, so someone has to earn money with this. And the money that comes from the data that people give into the network. So, and a reason, a really important reason is, if I put some data in, I have no control what happens with the data. I can delete it, but meanwhile the data can be copied or sent to other person. People search machine or crawlers like Yasni or 123people.com, they provide search profiles of several social networks, so they already provide aggregated information which makes it easier for people that want to learn more about personal information about a company. So in this web recon, the social networks are a great source. So the social networks, also we are speaking in the moment about passive recon, but social networks can also be used for active recon. For example, to start to contact or to make friendship with a system administrator or with an important person that is responsible for some kind of application. Let's have a closer look to the active recon. So here the attacker sends messages or do something, interacts with the network of the victim to gather information about that victim. So active recon is in contrast to the passive recon. In case of active recon, one starts some activities. One starts some activities with a goal to gather information about the target network directly. So one can do this, for example, by sending an email. Sending an email, for example, to a non-existing person in the company. What is the result of this? Result is there is a response message. The response message is generated, error message 550, user unknown, is sent back to the origin sender. This message, you can try this. This message often contains interesting information about the mail server system and about the version of that mail server system, about the topology of the email system, about the existence of antivirus software, about the operating system, about email address. So such a stupid thing, sending an email in a network to a non-existing person, in the reply you can see a lot of information which is helpful for a later attack. So this active recon can also be done by a website analysis. So investigating the structure of the website, investigating the technology that is used for providing the technology, about the web server, so the URLs, the URL extension. They give hints what kind of mechanisms are used, what kind of applications are run. You can investigate comments in HTML code, which gives a lot of information about systems run. You can perform simple access tests. For example, access a directory listing. Try to access this, and often you get an answer. You get a complete overview about this listing. You can misuse FTP for such active recon attack. For example, and often this is the case, if a company runs an anonymous FTP, often if you investigate this, there are some interesting documents placed there, for example, typically which are forgotten to take off, which now are considered to confidential, but take off, or there are Microsoft Word documents where you can explore the properties information. Who is responsible, who was writing this document, in which department he is working, and more information. So this is the phase, the recon phase, the possibilities to receive information about a network that should be attacked. Thank you for your attention.